Okay. Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Exploring the Lord of the Rings. This is session number 160, an even 160. As we return to the Council of Elrond, we are in session, I think this is number 36, in our discussion of the Council of Elrond, which, as I was saying to you guys on Discord before we started, that totally counts as breezing through. I said we were going to breeze through the Council of Elrond, and we totally are, right? I mean, what does breezing look like to you, right? Anyway, welcome back. So I am excited because tonight we are getting to the uncloaking of Saruman the Unwhite. This is a really fun moment, and I'm especially excited to follow up our discussion of the wizard colors that we did last time. So that was really cool, and of course it's going to be important to sort of put that to the test in a sense by looking at how that fits with the passage that we're going to be looking at this week. No big announcements this week. I just wanted to, first of all, thank everybody, who participated in the webathon this past weekend. That was a lot of fun. We have several of the sessions that are posted on that, a couple others that are coming soon. If you missed the two sessions that I did last week, are my two big sessions on Signum University and our future. Those are going to be posted. The videos of those are going to be posted soon. Should be by tonight. Should be the Signum Who We Are session that I did last Thursday night will get posted, and then soon thereafter, the State of the University address that I did on Saturday will be posted. So those are going to be coming up soon. Excited about that, but really just interested to share the stuff that's going on at Signum here. So anyway, just keep an eye out for that, and hope you guys will consider sharing those things. We want to help to spread the word about cool things. That, I was talking to I was at my a little sort of extended family party this past weekend, and people were saying, hey, it's kind of good to hear good news, right, about something going well and doing well in 2020, and Signum is definitely a happy story in that way. But anyway, but let's get into the less happy story of Saruman and what's going on with him. So I saw some continued discussion of the colors of the wizards and what they mean. I am feeling, the more I have thought about it over the course of this week since our last session, the more I have liked the idea that we were playing with last time. This idea of the colors of the wizards being not a question of rank exactly, but rather associated with their job descriptions, sort of academic areas, their callings, I guess you could even say. And I agree with the sort of consensus. Mark, of course, was the one who posted that made the initial post, and I certainly, Mark, agree with your premise about the gray being the least distinct of these. It's looking fairly clear, what Radagast's remit is and what Saruman's remit was meant to be, right? And that the gray is a little bit less clear, is a little bit less certain, and I think made even the more so, and there were a couple of you that were emphasizing this in the follow-up part of that discussion, that it seems very likely that Gandalf has, just as we were saying that last time, some of the irritation evidenced by Saruman in that initial conversation with Gandalf would be easily explainable in the context of a kind of academic transgression, right? Like you're moving onto my turf. That Gandalf has been minding business that was not his, right? That does not in fact relate to the gray, but has been moving off into the domain of the white, because Saruman has been guilty of, at the very least, inaction, an inaction which has sort of become more and more obvious even to the rest of the White Council at this point. I agree with those things, that, Gandalf may well have already been taking it upon himself to do some things which perhaps the White Wizard should, in fact, have been doing, things which actually were, in a sense, the business of the White Wizard. The thing that particularly strikes me, if I had to point to one example of Gandalf taking upon himself something which seems to be a White Wizard job, it wouldn't be the ring stuff. I mean, in a sense, of course it is. You could, I mean, as I was saying last time, the investigation of the Ring of Power would seem to be like the single biggest transgression of academic turf in that sense. But in a different sense, like that was landed on him, right? That Gandalf didn't choose that. He didn't go looking for that. I mean, okay, he went questing for it afterwards, but I mean, when Bilbo found the ring, it wasn't until Bilbo found the ring, he just encountered it, right? And, you know, a shadow fell on his heart and all that, right? And he began to think about it. He didn't go looking for that. He didn't go trying to figure out that problem. The clearest example that I would point to of a place where he does seem to me to be crossing the line is his trip to Dol Guldur. When he discovers who Sauron really is. The time when he meets Thran and gets the map and key from him for the Hobbit. That seems to me a moment where he is clearly, you know, he's investigating. I mean, maybe not, you know, they didn't know it was Sauron officially. So, I mean, I guess Saruman probably did, but the rest of them didn't. But again, like, there's a dark wizard. Is this Sauron or one of his chief servants? How does this play into, you know, a potential pattern of danger to the west? That really sounds like a White Wizard job to me, something that Saruman should have been doing. And of course, we know that Saruman is actually sandbagging it, right, in the White Council at that point. So again, Gandalf would have some reason to be thinking, okay, I've been patient, right? Saruman, this is Saruman's job, but he's not, somebody's got to do this, right? If Saruman, for some reason, isn't doing it or won't do it, I've got to do it myself. Anyway, yeah. So that's, that seems to me a pretty open and shut case of him, you know, involving himself in every business, whether it belongs to him or not. I think it's a fair accusation in some ways. Anyway, okay. So let's move on now to Gandalf's response to that and see how this helps to the rest of their conversation there. Okay. Yeah. JJ, you're right. JJ is saying that he's reminded of Tolkien telling Lewis that he should leave the preaching to the clergy, and Lewis's response was essentially, I'd love to, but, you know, like, I would, but they're not doing it, and somebody has to. That is an interesting parallel, JJ. It would have, I wonder what Tolkien would have said had Lewis responded with that, right? Like, man, like, it's just like Gandalf, right? You know, and I mean, I think that, not sure that Tolkien would necessarily have agreed with the premise that, you know, the clergy, the modern clergy, was parallel to Saruman there. But I'm not sure he would have totally opposed it either. Who knows? But that's interesting. Okay, cool. So let's read the passage. Bricktails, don't worry, I haven't missed it. We haven't gotten to the last paragraph. We haven't gotten to any of the paragraphs yet. All right. I looked at him and wondered. But if I am not deceived, said I, things are now moving which will require the union of all our strength. That may be so, he said, but the thought is late in coming to you. How long, I wonder, have you concealed from me, the head of the council, a matter of greatest import? What brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? The 9 have come forth again, I answered. They have crossed the river. So Radagast said to me. Radagast the Brown, laughed Saruman, and he no longer concealed his scorn. Radagast the bird-tamer, Radagast the simple, Radagast the fool. And yet he had just the wit to play the part I set him. For you have come, and that was all the purpose of my message. And here you will stay, Gandalf the Grey, and rest from journeys. For I am Saruman the Wise, Saruman Ringmaker, Saruman of many colors. Okay, so that last sentence, which is most obviously relevant to the subject that we've been talking about, I am tempted to come to last, but actually it's okay. Let's just jump ahead and talk about that. First, notice in that last paragraph the way in which he, don't worry, we're not going to skip the other paragraphs, we'll come back to them. Notice the way that he deploys wizardly titles, right? Radagast the Brown. So let's look at his talking about Radagast first, right? He gives a string of titles for Radagast, which I think have to be understood in some sense to be synonyms, or at least, he's suggesting that they're synonyms. And the last two are insults, at least they're trending towards insults, right? Radagast the Brown, his color. Radagast the Bird Tamer, a sort of parody of his job, right, of his academic domain. He's the friend of birds, right? This is one of the things that he does. And so to slightingly refer to that as Bird Tamer, okay. Radagast the Simple. Well, now that needn't be an insult, right? I mean, it's quite possible Radagast is in some ways simple. That is, he is living a simple life. He is, sort of living close to the earth. He doesn't have complicated needs. He's the friend of birds and beasts. Simple isn't necessarily an insult, though of course it can be an insult. It also suggests that that he means it as simpleton. But my point there, Michael, is that I think he's punning on the word there, right? Radagast is, in one sense, in the more kind of positive sense, he is simple. His concerns are simple, right? Or at least might look so. He's not part of, webs of policy, and he's not, sort of setting his mind in strategy against Sauron. That's not his role. His role, it would seem, as far as we can tell it, is in fact simpler, right? But there's a kind of simplicity, again, in a good sense, about Radagast's role, and perhaps even Radagast personally. A single-mindedness, again, the fact that he's not a traveler. So the fact that he is a friend of birds and beasts doesn't preclude that, right? I mean, you can be the friends of birds and beasts and still travel around. I mean, in fact, I would rather expect it, frankly. I'm glad he's the friend of birds and beasts in Mirkwood, but aren't there birds and beasts outside of Mirkwood that might profit from his friendship, conceivably, right? But Gandalf says you were never a traveler, right? That's not how he rolls. That's not what he does. And so again, it suggests that there is a kind of an increased, simplicity to Radagast's purpose, job, life, or whatever. But anyway, I'm not trying to avoid the fact, of course, that he's obviously meaning to insult him. But my point is, notice there's a progression here, right? Radagast the Brown, statement of fact. That's his title, right? Radagast the Bird Tamer, unkind characterization of his specialty. Radagast the Simple, pun, right? Something which could be a compliment, but probably not even really meant as in any case, has a heavy overtone of insult. And then finally, Radagast the Fool, just simple, straight up insult with no combination at all, right? Drakon Tarakni, I agree. Saruman, unlike Tom, does not consider having earth under your on your fingers to be a virtue. Yes, exactly. I think that Farmer Maggot and Radagast would probably get along quite well, right? And I think that Tom Bombadil would respect Radagast as he respects, at least as much as he respects Farmer Maggot. I agreed on all that. But again, so. You see what I'm saying about the trend there, about the sort of direction there. The first one is one of the most intriguing. If this is supposed to be a sort of a set of like a restatement, like a refining or a clarification, a sort of a sort of, there's something almost not exactly syllogistic, that's not quite the right word, but it's almost like a proof, if you see what I mean. He's Radagast the Brown, ergo Radagast the Bird Tamer, that's what that means. Ergo Radagast the Simple, that's what that means. Ergo Radagast the Fool, right? There's a kind of logical progression, almost, if you see what I mean, in that. And so again, I think that Saruman certainly seems to identify the brown as meaning the bird tamer, right? Again, I don't think Saruman is making an attempt to do a fair-minded and, holistic summary of what it means to be the brown. He is meaning to be slighting and insulting while doing it. Yeah. Yeah, Carry the One says seems to be Saruman's counter to needing the union of all our strength, right? Yeah. He doesn't. Or really, of course, you could say that this is sort of the not exactly a counter so much as a. Maybe he doesn't consider Radagast a strength at all, right? I mean, there's no, what strength is there to unify with when it comes to Radagast? Notice he didn't give Radagast a recruitment speech. Didn't happen, right? And presumably, that is at least partly because he considers Radagast functionally a kind of non-entity, right? Yeah. Yeah. Oh, good. I like that, Matt. I'll try to come back to that point that you were just making there in a second. Okay. Yet he had just the wit to play the part that I set him. Notice the thoroughness of the sense of superiority there. Radagast is a fool, right? And possibly also an idiot. But fortunately, he had sufficient wit to play the part that I set him. My wisdom and my intelligence is so much greater than Radagast's that I manipulated him into playing this particular part, which, knowing exactly the level and scope of his wit, right? I set him this part, which he played. But of course, wit is also a little bit, is interesting. He had just the wit to play the part I set him. Sounds like he was just, wit sounds like it's referring to his intelligence, right? And yet, he seems to be just as much, it's not Radagast's stupidity that he's playing on. It's Radagast's integrity that he's manipulating, right? Which is why I think he's Radagast the Simple and Radagast the Fool, right? Only a simple-minded person, only a fool, would, believe what Saruman told him, would play the part that he set him. I think it seems to be sort of really actually less about wit. For you have come, and that was all the purpose of my message. And here you will stay, Gandalf the Grey, and rest from journeys. More than ever, this is the second time that Saruman has explicitly associated the title The Grey with journeying, right? Gandalf the Grey wandering about all the lands, right? He did that just on the previous, in that earlier paragraph there as well. Here you will stay, Gandalf the Grey, and rest from journeys. It sounds like whatever the job. And again, I agree with everybody that Grey, as people were saying, Gandalf is kind of a gray area. It's much less clear exactly what his designed remit is supposed to be, what his academic area is. We had some sort of theories that I think is good. I think we had some ideas that were excellent, but I don't feel like I could make a job description, right, based on it. Whereas again, it's a little bit. I mean, I'd still be guessing if I made the job description of Radagast. Less so, I think, with Saruman. I think I know Saruman's job description, right? He was designed to be the enemy of Sauron, right? He's supposed to be leading the. Yeah, I get those things that Gandalf gets praised for doing after his return, right? When he returns as the White explicitly, having taken over that role and performing it and doing it well. So all the things that are said in praise of Gandalf and describing what he's doing at the last debate, after the fact, what he says, I was the enemy of Sauron and all that kind of thing. Anyway, so whatever the Grey was, it is clearly, I think, in Saruman's mind at least, associated with traveling, associated with journeying, with wandering about the lands. Because now he is going to retire from being the Grey. One way or another, Gandalf will not be the Grey anymore, as far as Saruman is concerned, right? Either he's going to change his color and join with Saruman, or he is going to be deprived of his color. But one way or another, he is going to rest from journeys. For I am Saruman the Wise, Saruman Ringmaker, Saruman of many colors. And this is the point that Matt was making before, that when he gives his own titles, he reverses the progression, right? Brown, bird tamer, simple, fool. And with himself, he starts with wise, ringmaker, many colors. And I think, Matt, you're exactly right about that. I think that the logic of his descriptors is precisely reversed in ways that make perfect sense, right? Radagast the Brown. Yeah. He is Radagast the Brown. Let's look for a minute at what that means, shall we? Saruman seems to be saying, yeah, he's the Brown. Therefore, bird tamer, simple, fool. And himself, he's building up from the ground up, right? Who am I? I am Saruman the Wise. I am not a fool, nor simple, like Radagast. I am Saruman Ringmaker. That is my role. That's the equivalent of bird tamer. That's what I do. That's what it means to be me, right? And then, so there's like the sort of the over, and then finally the reveal of his new title that he's made. Saruman of many colors. I embrace all of the things, right? I am the master one to do all of the roles. Which, if we're correct in understanding the relationship, the significance, I should say, of the colors, right? It means it's an identification of what you do and who you are. What your remit is. He has all the remits, right? He has all the jobs. Exactly, Freebird. That's exactly what I'm thinking. That he does it that way. He does it in reverse. Exactly as Matt was observing, because the whole many colors thing is new, right? So he uses it. He sort of boils down Radagast's, role, nature, right, down to its essence. Radagast the Fool is clearly the essence of it to Saruman, right? And then he starts himself up from the opposite direction in order to review, because he can't just start with Saruman of many colors, right? That doesn't make sense. Notice now, for instance, how Saruman has also shifted just as he is kind of twisting Radagast's own title, job description, right, to bird tamer, he's also twisted his own. He has studied the rings of power. He is trying to oppose the enemy, but he's twisted that, right? He's twisted that around until he is now a ring maker trying to surpass the enemy rather than merely to oppose him. Yeah, cool. Awesome. Hey, by the way, welcome to what, Heebie-Jeeb, I think they're on Twitch chat. Somebody who just caught up with us and is joining us live. Welcome. Glad to see you. And you can feel free to join. Of course, you will hear me talking to other people, and I'm talking to a lot of them in our Discord chat, which is there in the link I just sent. Yeah, there we go. Cool. Yeah, good. Irindus, I like that point. Good. And Angrist's point as well. Angrist says if we subscribe to the academic discipline viewpoint, the many colors also points to a claim to complete knowledge. Yes, exactly. I am the master of everybody's job, right? And it is, Tiber says Saruman scorned Gandalf for meddling in other people's business. Well, exactly. But if everybody else's business belongs to you, then you're not meddling, are you? Right? That's exactly the point. And Irindus was just saying that the word order may also be to emphasize that his own title is self-made, whereas we've been speculating that the other colors are assigned with duties of a sort. Yeah, exactly. It is, and of course, Ringmaker, right? He is pointing at his own ability to make power as well, right? So just as he has made his own ring of power, which, again, we don't know 100% sure what it does, as we were discussing last time, he also has made his own title. He's made his own identity. He's made his own path. This is just a reflection of how wise he is, right? That's wisdom. Whereas, what's folly? Folly is just doing what you're told, right? Like Radagast, the simple, right? Who has just the wit to play the part that I said. I'm like, what a perfect Radagast job? I'm just gonna tell him to do something and sucker him into doing something he doesn't even realize he's doing, right? That's what fools do, who follow orders, and who try to obey and stuff. Yeah. Oh, I like that. Kizik. You do have a vowel, so that's handy. Kizix. The business about the union of all our strength. Saruman is sort of trying to counter this in a sense in his boasting. By calling himself Saruman of many colors, he's essentially stating that he has and is all their strength. I am myself the union of all of our strength. Yes, exactly. That does seem to be the kind of thing that he's trying to get at. And Lissalinda, I do not know. I do not know what his hopes are. What kind of ringmaker he wants to be. Lissalinda asks, does he want to make rings like the 3, the 7, and the 9, or even the 1, or is he just trying to give himself another title? Oh no, he definitely is making literal rings. He's wearing a ring, which Gandalf draws attention to. So I definitely think that's a ring that Saruman himself made. He's not, Saruman the aspirational ring maker. He's Saruman the ring maker. He has made rings, right? Or at least a ring. But what that power is, or what relationship it stands in towards the other rings of power, I don't know. One thing that seems pretty clear is that it clearly does not give him insight into or power over the 3, as he seems unaware of, you'd think, hey, and why don't you hand over that one of the three that you're carrying, Gandalf, might have come up in the conversation, right? If he had known. I think it's still concealed from him. And it's clear that Galadriel is still wearing her ring with no fear of Saruman, right? And what power he might bring to bear. Whereas when Sauron has the One Ring, the wearers of the three took them off post haste. When Celebrimbor was ware of them, of Sauron. So anyway, yeah. So we don't know much detail. I'm reluctant to say that it didn't do him any good. I don't know how much good it did do him, but Saruman does do a lot, and I think it's possible that he was assisted in accomplishing what he does accomplish with his One Ring, with his, ring. I think there's probably one of them. My guess, and this is only a guess, but I'm guessing Saruman's making one ring. He's not making rings to distribute to other people. I don't think that he has a distribution plan for his ring production line. Yeah. Yeah, Kit, I don't know the mechanism. About Sauron puts much of his own power into the One Ring. I don't know how the elven rings work. Did Celebrimbor have to weaken and disperse himself in the making of the three elvish rings? I'm not sure that that's how they worked. I think that the elvish rings are a completely different kind of undertaking than the One Ring, than the Ring of Dominion. But I certainly agree that that's more likely to be the kind of thing that Saruman was going for, right? And so his ring is likely to be of the Sauron variety, but at the same time, remember, he's earnestly studied these matters, right? And not for nothing. He is, in fact, wise. You can tell because that's what his name is. Saruman means wise man, crafty person. And wisdom in a, like Searu in the Anglo-Saxon context means wisdom, but it means wisdom in a, like cleverness to make things, is what it means. See, actually, Bricktails, wise and crafty were the same in this way. The word wise, one of the meanings of the word wise, meant ability to do stuff. You can still hear this, actually. One place you can go to see what I'm talking about. The King James translation of Exodus, after Moses comes, basically when they start gathering people to make the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle, they bring together all of the wise people, all of the wise men. And this doesn't mean like the book learned, and it doesn't mean, those who are sage and have a great deal of common sense and life experience. This means people who are good at craftsmanship. They're bringing the smiths together so that they can forge and make the Ark of the Covenant and the tabernacle. And the word that's used there is the word wise. And that word Searu in Anglo-Saxon, Saruman, what his name is based on, it means wise, but it means wise more in the sense of crafty. I mean crafty in the sense of like can craft things, like very, very literally is how I mean that. Someone who is wise-hearted means somebody who, like, when we call somebody good with their hands, like he's really good with his hands in the sense that like he can make things really well, they would have called such a person wise-hearted in Anglo-Saxon. Yes, artisanal. Yes, exactly. People who have who have these skills, who are skilled of mind and hand, not only in order, so because it embraces not just quality of craftsmanship, but also like inventiveness, right? For instance, and again, this is another thing that you can see back in Geoffrey of Monmouth, right? Merlin is very wise as well, right? And one of the ways in which Merlin's wisdom manifests itself is that he's able to dismantle and move Stonehenge in a heartbeat, right? Not by magic, but by engineering. Like he can figure out ways to do this and nobody else can figure out how to do it. I don't remember why they're moving Stonehenge, but they need to move Stonehenge. And so they do. And it's Merlin who's able to move it, the Giant's Ring, because reasons. But again, the point is, he's very wise, right? And that's why he's able to figure this out. And yes, Musical, you're right. There's a lot of overlap with devices, the devices of Saruman that help them to thwart the enemy earlier on. No, that was pre-writing spoilers in gold, JJ. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Good. Okay. Anyway, point is, Saruman, the wise Saruman Ringmaker, these two things are not, they're kind of cumulative in a sense, right? Saruman, by his name, by his Anglo-Saxon name there, is linked to that particular kind of wisdom. But of course, as several of you guys were observing, Saruman is taking unto himself all kinds of wisdom, right? In making himself Saruman, making himself out to be Saruman of many colors. Now let's go back to the start, because I ended with the end of this paragraph, or the end of this passage, because that last paragraph relates most directly to what we were talking about, and I'm satisfied. I think this holds up really well with the theory that we came up with last week. But anyway, so Gandalf is wondering. I looked at him and wondered. He wonders why Saruman is insulting him, what Saruman is concerned about. Remember, the last thing that Saruman has just said before Gandalf looks at him and wonders is the business about, wandering about the lands and involving himself in every business, whether it belongs to him or not, right? And he says, his response, right, but if I am not deceived, things are now moving which will require the union of all our strength. I believe that what Gandalf is saying there is, but wait a second, are you seriously telling me that now, right now, at this particular time, I should be staying on my own patch? Right, that we should all be continuing to work separately, each one focusing only on the things that, they have habitually focused on, our own areas of study. Surely, if we do kind of cross the lines and all work together, that now is the time for that, right? Things are now moving, which will require the union of all our strength. So it is kind of my business too, right? They do kind of belong to me. They belong to all of us, and we should all be working together. It's a good response. Good, especially since he doesn't justify himself, right? He doesn't, he's not like, I had every right to do that. He doesn't argue back. But he also doesn't capitulate, right? He's not like, oh dear, sorry about that, Saruman. I guess I should have asked permission first, right? I mean, he could be conciliatory. He's not being conciliatory either. He's neither being inflammatory nor conciliatory because he's wondering, right? He has a bad feeling, right? This isn't going where I think it's going, is it? Saruman isn't actually angry at me for working against the enemy, is he? So he makes this statement, and I think he's making this statement in a probing kind of way, right? If I am not deceived, things are now moving, which will require the union of all our strength. To which, of course, Saruman responds, that may be so, but the thought is late in coming to you. Which I really like as an answer, by the way. The thought is late in coming to you. Just now it finally occurs to you that collaboration might be a good idea. Remember, being non-collaborative is one of the things that he was sort of implicitly accusing Gandalf of before, right? How long, I wonder, have you concealed from me, the head of the council, a matter of greatest import? What brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? How long, I wonder, have you concealed from me, the head of the council, a matter of greatest import? Now Gandalf has to be extremely alarmed, right? Alarmed, and alarmed for multiple reasons. He knows. He's got to know, right? Gandalf has to know at that point that Saruman knows or has guessed that Gandalf knows where the One Ring is. What other matter of greatest import? Gandalf knows what he's concealing, right? He has, in fact, concealed from Saruman the fact that he, Gandalf, has found the Ring of Power. This has been confirmed. Remember, he confirmed this. He found the scroll in Minas Tirith. He went and he interviewed Gollum. And since then, he's been to the Shire and he's thrown Frodo's ring into the fireplace and he's seen the fire lettering for himself. Gandalf now knows for a fact that Frodo's ring is definitely Sauron's ring. Now, of course, he's not really had a chance to tell anybody since he found this out, because he's just come from the Shire. He's just left Frodo behind and come from the Shire. So anyway, that's but he's got to be worried on several different levels, right? Yes, Mike says he literally could not have come here any faster. Had as soon as he found the ring, right, confirmed the identity of the ring, he'd been like, all right, hang on, I'm gonna go report to Saruman, right? You know, had he done that, he could scarcely have gotten here much sooner. So I agree, Mike, it's a little difficult of an accusation to bring to him, but then again, it's also totally not, right? I mean, yes, he only did just confirm it, but he could have come here on the way, you know, like at least, well, okay, no, he had to go to Mirkwood on the way back from Minas Tirith, but at some point in the last 70 odd years or so, right, he could have communicated his concerns, suspicions, fears with Saruman. Now, I think that we've been over this some, and I really like again, it was, I'm forgetting, Irindus, was that you? I'm trying to remember who that was, who wrote that wonderful description of this, comparing it to a junior faculty member who has unearthed evidence which seems to invalidate an authoritative claim made by the accepted world expert, who also happens to be a senior faculty member in his own department, right? That the junior faculty member in that instance is going to make sure that his proof is rock solid before he publishes anything, right? And I still agree with that. You know, Saruman, he doesn't suspect Saruman yet, but he believes the burden of proof is still very much on any claim which disagrees with what Saruman said in the council. Saruman is the expert. Anyway, so I still like that as an explanation of Gandalf's reticence to share it with Saruman. He doesn't have to be suspicious of him. He doesn't have to think that Saruman might be going bad in order to not want to share it, to not want to reveal it yet. Yet, JJ says, maybe, he kind of felt him out on this subject and got shot down, So, Saruman, is it possible? I mean, is there even a remote possibility that, somebody could have found the one, that the one could still be around, that it might be discovered, and Saruman's like, no, it rolled down the river to the sea. I'm telling you, that's not possible. I could imagine something like that. And yes, Evil Dr. Cannon, you're right. He is also worried about an untimely word and the fear of treachery, right? He's this secret, this chance is so momentous that he is going to be super cautious about this. Again, there are good reasons for him not to share it, even with the head of the council, right? I would also add, there is a certain way of looking at this in which Gandalf could say to himself, it's not even really his secret to share, right? If he goes around noising abroad his theory about the One Ring, it's not his neck he's putting in the noose, right? Even if, what if he's wrong? I mean, if he's right, of course, it's a disaster, but he could be wrong. In any case, whether or not he's right or wrong, if he says to anybody that, oh yeah, like the hobbits back in the Shire totally have Sauron. I think, they found this ring. I think it could totally be the One Ring. He is setting them up for some serious trouble, right? This is something that could quite easily kill Frodo, right? This is so he and not to mention like all of the Shire, right? I mean, you don't want this is not, that's just not something that you mess around with. Anyway, so lots of reasons for him to keep his own counsel, but notice what seems to me the center of that question. The question as Saruman asks it to Gandalf, how long, I wonder, have you concealed from me the head of the council? A matter of greatest import. He makes it into not just an act of sneakiness on Gandalf's part, but of disobedience, right? I am the head of the council. How dare you conceal from me, the head of the council, a matter of greatest import, right? That he should be included in like the group of people who are on a need-to-know basis about what Gandalf has discovered, that is not okay, right? His own sense of his own position and his own importance, it's a big deal, right? This is clearly a big deal. It is, in his eyes, an act of insubordination, Mike. Yeah, I mean, that certainly does seem to be the case. So that's the phrase that strikes me as really important in that sentence. And in the next one, and I agree with you, Ashnazg, lurking place, and a couple of you have commented on the phrase lurking place. What brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? Lurking place is a very significant phrase, right? Ashnaz is saying that phrase jumps out at him, and he thinks it's because it doesn't line up with Gandalf's reputation for wandering about the lands and interfering all over the place, right? There's a kind of inconsistency there, right? Or at least I think maybe the way to say it is known that Gandalf has no home. He doesn't have a tower, right? He doesn't have a stronghold. He doesn't even have a Rosgobel. Who knows what Rosgobel is like, but he doesn't, whatever it's like, Gandalf doesn't have one, right? So he whose job is to journey about, the gray one, which does seem to be associated with journeying, why are you lurking in the Shire? Why do you keep coming back to this one place? Why are you focusing so much of your attention on the Shire? So I agree, Ashnazg. There's a sense of, it's almost like Saruman sounds like he's caught Gandalf out, right? You're clearly doing something shady. Your guilt demonstrates itself in the fact that you are acting uncharacteristically here. You're acting against your own nature and your own calling by lurking in the Shire when you're supposed to be wandering about and involving yourself in every business, whether it belongs to you or not, right? But yeah, I mean I think that's interesting. But now lurking, there is a clear shading to that word. Right. What brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? He is. There's a darkness there, right? There's an implication of like he must be plotting something. He's clearly up to no good there in the Shire. I can't help but think it's a little bit ironic. It's kind of funny in context, right? I mean, if your lurking place is like your, hideout where you're plotting things that are no good and where you have like maybe fellow conspirators, right? Maybe there's a conspiracy that could be unmasked, which Saruman is trying to unmask. The Shire is about as murky as possible, a place to lurk in that way. I find it a little bit funny, but anyway, Gandalf has got to be extremely alarmed, right? For lots of reasons. On the one hand, the direction that Saruman is pushing things, he was insulting him just now, right? About the business, whether it belongs to you or not. It was clear that he was affronted, right? But nothing Saruman, that is, has said yet to this point necessarily reveals malicious intention towards Gandalf. I mean, he could just be very tetchy about something, right? So far. In this paragraph, in this speech, Saruman has revealed two really important pieces of information, right? One, he knows about the ring. Two, he knows about the Shire. He associates it with the Shire, right? He's figured that out. Gandalf has to be concerned for two reasons. One, again, lots of red flags here, right? That Saruman, the suspicion of malice has to be getting stronger, right? But he's not really revealed himself fully yet. It's not until that last paragraph that we started with there that he plainly shows that he is working against Gandalf, and indeed all of the other wizards as well. But the suspicion is growing. But even apart from that suspicion, Gandalf has to be terrified, right? Terrified because of how much Saruman knows. How does he know all this? How does he know that I found the ring? How did he find out? How does he know that it's associated with the Shire? What could be his source of information? At the very least, because if Saruman found this out, Sauron could have found this out, right? Yes, Aranas, it's, I think, fairly clear that Saruman is watching the Shire. Definitely. Exactly. Exactly. Yes, good. As Michael D says, lurking. Sorry, I'm catching up with some comments here. That lurking suggests, it's not just that, like, he has a timeshare there, right? That there's a purpose to it. Yeah, agreed. And agreed. There is no positive connotation for the word lurking, really. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good. Evil Dr. Cannon says that lurking is exactly what Saruman is doing in Isengard. Yes, absolutely. There is an obvious kind of hypocrisy, right, in all of these things that he's accusing Gandalf of course. But you're right. The treacherous are ever distrustful. Yes. And Mike is pointing out that there's even a hint of deviousness here in accusing his enemy of doing the shady things that he himself is doing. He's you could say that he's kind of preparing himself. He's sort of positioning himself for that. Yeah. Good. Excellent. Yeah, Michael says Saruman is the master of projection. Gandalf's response. The 9 have come forth again, I answered. They have crossed the river, so Radagast said to me. Now, why does Gandalf say that? Obviously, he's not answering the question. He was just asked... Well, okay, he's asked 2 questions. The first question, how long, I wonder, have you concealed from me, the head of the council, a matter of greatest import? The I wonder renders that into something like a rhetorical question, right? How long, I wonder, have you concealed from me? That's not a question which necessarily expects an answer. What brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? He is answering that question, right? Why did you, what brings you now from your lurking place in the Shire? So Gandalf answers the question directly while deliberately ignoring and turning away from all of the very alarming implications of the questions that he has asked and the way that he has asked those questions, right? I know Ambrosius are really honest to say, who called this meeting anyway? The 9 have come forth again. They have crossed the river, so Radagast said to me. Now, that tone of voice in which I just read them, I don't think is the tone of voice in which Gandalf says them. That's one of the things that I find most interesting to try to imagine in this passage here. What is Gandalf's tone in that line? I mean, one could imagine that the way that I just said it. The 9 have come forth again. They have crossed the river, so Radagast said to me. That's why I came, right? One could imagine responding to that question in that way. I don't think so, right? I think just as he was saying, but if I am not deceived, things are not moving, which will require the union of all our strength. He's probing, right? He is probing. He is pushing to try to figure out exactly what is lying behind this. So he answers the question. And in doing so, deflects away from the Shire, deflects away from any matter of great import which he might have been concealing from anybody. The 9 have come forth again. They have crossed the river, so Radagast said to me. It is possible, it is still possible, that Saruman intends to help. That Saruman... that he, Gandalf, was right to come here for the reasons that he did, right? He knows he cannot oppose the 9, the Witch King, plus all the other 8 by himself. Radagast says, Saruman says, if you want help, come and he can help you. Gandalf seems here to be kind of laying it on the line for Saruman, right? Okay. I guess the way that I would summarize Gandalf's tone and approach in that line is, Saruman, I get it. You're upset, right? I get that you're upset. I get that you're, you know, you've got beef with me. You think I'm stepping on your toes. You know, you're displeased. I've been keeping something from you. Yes, and it's kind of exactly in your academic specialty. You found out about my research that I've been doing into contradicting your big claim, your big authoritative claim. I get it. You're upset about that, but hang on. You do actually intend to help me do something about the Nazgul, about the 9 that have come forth and have crossed the river, right? So he just makes 2 simple sentences. The 9 have come forth again. Fact, right? Fact. They have crossed the river. As if he's spelling out the significance. This is the urgent thing, right? Can we deal with academic jealousies later, right? The 9 have come forth again. They have crossed the river. So Radagast said to me. So Radagast said to me. He is challenging him there. I mean, there's an implied if there. That's if you told Radagast the truth. You weren't lying, were you? That, so Radagast said to me, seems to me, I know he's not asking the question. He's not making any accusations. But he's putting this to the test, right? I was told that the 9 had come forth again, that they have crossed the river. What are we going to do about this, right? And can you please confirm this information, right, that I was told by Radagast? Now, no, Gandalf does not suspect that Radagast was lying, right? There's no implication on Gandalf's part. I think there's no fear in his mind that Radagast was lying to him necessarily. It's possible, Ashnazg, it's possible that he could be trying to ascertain whether Radagast is still trustworthy, but I gotta say, it's not Radagast that he has any reason to suspect, right? You know, he's been picking up a lot of weird signals off of Saruman since he walked in. Literally, from when he walked through the gates, or rode through the gates, right? You know, his heart has been telling him something is not right here before he even encountered Saruman and began talking with him. And that has to have been amplified really strongly until now. He is freaked. I think that Gandalf has got to be in at least feeling the impulse to a state close to panic about that speech, about the matter of greatest import and the lurking place in the Shire, right? He has got to be worried that somehow he has failed to keep this secret, right? And it's gone out, and now like everybody's talking about the ring of, the One Ring and the Shire, right? So yeah, I don't think that he's worried about Radagast here. I think that he brings up Radagast in order to confirm this, right? He's not accusing Saruman of anything yet. Radagast told me that these things were true. He doesn't ask Saruman any question. He just makes these 2 statements like and there's all these implied ifs, right? If Radagast's information is accurate, which he said he got from you, so that means if you told the truth to Radagast, and if you still care about being the White at all, right? Your job is to oppose the Sauron and therefore the 9, right? They've come forth again. The superfluity of that second sentence is interesting. The 9 have come forth again. They have crossed the river. Well, yes, that's what coming forth means in this context, right? But he repeats the thing with a kind of to sort of underscore its significance. The 9 have come forth again. They have crossed the river. Like they're approaching. They're on their way. They're coming here. They're on their way here. Right? I mean, right? That's what I was told. Nazgul galloping in our direction right now. We're doing something, right? Are you planning to do something about that or not? Is there going to be a union of our strength here? Or is there not? Or is it even true? Were you even lying to Radagast? Now, any of those questions, any of those implications would be very insulting to say aloud, right? Gandalf is very cautious. I don't agree that Gandalf is conciliatory here, but he is being cautious. He's not making any accusation, and he's not being aggressive against Saruman at all. Yeah. But it's there, right? It's there for Saruman to confirm or to deny. And Saruman responds by richly confirming it, right? No questions, no problems. It leads him to openly avow himself, to declare his new title. For you have come, and that was all the purpose of my message. Yes, Gandalf, I deceived you. Yes, I deceived you. I do not want the union of our strength, except in the sense of me annexing your strength to mine as my servant, right? Yeah. Evil Dr. Cannon, I don't remember either. Somebody look it up in, because it's in Appendix B, isn't it? The timeline that says when the Nazgul get to Isengard. The question was, has Saruman actually been in touch with the Nazgul themselves? Not Sauron through the Palantir, but the Nazgul themselves yet. I don't remember exactly. Okay. Right, they come after Gandalf escapes. That was my impulse too, but yeah, and so when they get there, they're angry because there's no prisoner to give to them. Right. Okay. Hey, second slide. I looked then and saw that his robes, which had seemed white, were not so, but were woven of all colors, as if he moved, they shimmered and changed hue, so that the eye was bewildered. I liked white better, I said. White, he sneered. It serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed, the white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken. In which case it is no longer white, said I, and he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. You need not speak to me as to one of the fools that you take for friends, he said. I have not brought you hither to be instructed by you, but to give you a choice. Okay. Oh, Green Great Dragon, I think it's almost certain that he crafted this robe himself. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so several scientists in the audience are a little offended by Gandalf here. I get it. Yeah, I think the question of whether you love or hate the quote, he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom, is kind of like a, are you a scientist or not question. Yes. Yes. Well, let's come back to that in a second. Let's come to that in due time here. His robes, which had seemed white, were not so, but were woven of all colors, and if he moved, they shimmered and changed hue, so that the eye was bewildered. So I think this is a wonderful image, right? I think that paragraph captures more than almost anything that Saruman has said how Saruman is imagining himself, especially given what we've seen about the correlation between color and role, right? Between color and job, I guess. We talked about how in calling himself Saruman of many colors, he is claiming to have all knowledge, right? All wisdom. He is the union of all of their strength, as we were saying earlier. I love how he has encapsulated this, right? You could argue, of course, he could argue that actually black, right? You combine all colors and you get black, right? So really black is the thing, but no, it's not that, right? He hasn't combined all of the colors into one big muddy color, right? That's not what he's done. That's not what his robes do. You can see all of the colors still, right? He has and displays each individual color. And if he moves, they shimmer and change hue so that the eye is bewildered. Yeah. Right. No, it's that, Valoria, I'm talking about pigment. When I'm talking about black being all of them. Not light, yeah, but pigment. We'll get to the pigment versus light thing a little bit later on, right? But again, it is not his desire to combine all those things, right? It is his desire to assemble all of those things and demonstrate that he himself is separately the master of each one of these things, right? It's not just that his job, sort of supersedes every other job, right? It's that he can be separately master of each one of their jobs. Like, I think it was such a great observation. Irene, was that you today, who was saying that it's like the reference to the union of their strength. And the way in which he has convinced himself that he is the union of all their strength. I think that's exactly right. And I think that that's what we can see here in this. And also the effect, right? The bewildering of the eye. That's part of it also, right? My wisdom is so great. My knowledge is so comprehensive. You can't even understand. Not only can you do not know all of what I know, you can't even read the card catalog. Right? You can't, like, if you try to even perceive all of the different complexity of me and my wisdom, it's gonna mess you up, right? Yeah. Cool, Mike. Thank you. September 18th is the date that Gandalf escapes from Orthanc in the early hours, and the Black Riders cross the fords of Isen. So they're almost there, but not quite. Good. Yeah, and for Dauntless, I agree that there is an element of him sort of trying to play both sides in a sense. It's trying to deceive Sauron as well. This sense in which he believes that he has, or he feels he's trying to convince himself, right, that he's kind of positioned himself and he is apart from and superior to everyone, right? And nobody can really, kind of pin him down, right? I liked white better, I said. This is Gandalf's only response, right, to that speech, right? To his reviewing himself. I am Saruman of many colors. That very, as somebody said earlier, a very mustache twirling speech that Saruman makes, and he just says with some extreme understatement, I liked white better. And then he sneers. White is limiting, right? It serves as a beginning. White serves as a beginning. That was my launching off point. White was, right? And then he gives the 3 metaphors for how you can proceed on from the beginning that is white. White cloth may be dyed. The white page can be overwritten, and the white light can be broken. Now, of these things, I think there is again a kind of logic, I think, to this, right? White serves as a beginning. White cloth may be dyed. That's very simple, right? A beautifully colored garment is obviously, is obviously more gorgeous than a simple white. White garments have been associated with sort of purity and simplicity for a long time. So, yeah, like white cloth may be dyed. The thing that's kind of lovely about this is that there are multiple connotations to the things that he talks about, the comparisons that he makes here, right? There are multiple connotations. And he, I think, is perfectly aware of those things, right? I don't think that he is unconscious of the white does, a white cloth, white robes are associated with purity and simplicity. Yeah, like white wedding dresses, bricktails. Yes, absolutely. But it may be dyed, right? And when is it dyed? It's dyed in order to make a garment of, you make it more expensive when you dye it, right? You make it richer and more beautiful. That's a step forward, right? That's an advance. Yeah. And I know, Valora, you're absolutely right that white garments were a status symbol for a while. Like, if you could afford to keep your clothes white, then yes. Cleaning white clothes is harder than cleaning colored clothes, as I think we've all experienced at one point or another. And certainly, white is not the default color of a lot of, woven garments, right? You usually have to bleach them in order to make them white. Wool is not naturally white, right, in color, after you've processed it and stuff. Exactly, right. As Kit says, natural fiber isn't white, it takes work. But still, if you have white cloth, it may be dyed. You can make any color out of it. It's a starting point, right? It's a simple color, but you can do more with it, right? You can make it into any color you want. And again, the thing that's most interesting to me about the white cloth, is it a metaphor? Illustration, I guess, really. It's not exactly a metaphor. His illustration of how white serves as a beginning. The white cloth is particularly relevant because clearly Gandalf has just been noticing Saruman's robes, which used to be white. He used to wear white robes, and now he doesn't wear white robes. So his own white cloth, I don't think it has been dyed. I doubt that iridescent effect could be achieved through dye. But still, like, he's responding on the one hand to Gandalf's obvious visual observation, right? Is my cloth not white anymore? Pfft, no, of course not. right? White is the beginning. White cloth may be dyed. A white cloth can be made into any color that you want. And I want all the colors, so why should I stick with just white? In a sense, it is it's the most like autobiographical, because in a sense he's talking about, not literally I think, but again in the sense that the iridescent effect is a product of dye, but sort of figuratively speaking autobiographically, right? Yes, I have dyed my white cloths, right? And that's a good thing, right? There's more variety. It encompasses more things, right? Secondly, the white page can be overwritten. Now this has less to do with him and his clothing, right? But this is a really fascinating one, right? Would you say that a white page has been ruined when someone has written on it? Of course not, right? White serves as a beginning. White paper is good, but it's only good because it shows up the writing best, right? The point of the paper is to receive the writing, to receive wisdom, right? That's what it's for. That is the purpose of white. By being overwritten, by being written on, right, it is fulfilling its destiny, right? That is the point. That is the goal of whiteness. That one's a good one. That one works really, really well. Notice also how it's kind of disarming. I said that I don't think that that these things can be taken in more than one sense, and I think that Saruman is not unaware of that, right? Like, yes, that when you dye white cloth, it is no longer white, and so therefore it's no longer pure. It's no longer simple. Again, I think he knows that. Again, I think he's responding to it. Like, are you thinking that I've adulterated my white robe? Nah, it's not an adulteration, right? People do this all the time. It's a good thing, right? To have richer, more beautiful, more, greater variety, to encompass more things in your garments. So enough with the robe, right? And what about paper, right? The white page can be overwritten. Sure, you could say like, oh, the poor white page gets black ink smudged all over. Like, you have been stained with black, Saruman. Is that what you're about to say, Gandalf? Right? That I'm smeared with blackness and my, no, that's the purpose. Ink is good, right? That is wisdom. That is the white page fulfilling its destiny. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Good. But I agree, the word overwritten is interesting. Overwritten does seem to imply a palimpsest rather than a fresh page. Palimpsest meaning like one set of things written on top of something else. Which does, I agree, Matt, that makes it sound a little more similar to dyed cloth, right? Where you have the cloth and then you superimpose another color, another dye on top of the fabric. Overwritten, I mean, white page can be overwritten. Yes, when you overwrite something, it's usually not a page. It's usually other writing, as Matt says, that you are writing over and creating a palimpsest. But I mean, I think that the metaphor that he is using there is simply a blank page that you can write on. But the word overwritten, I think that he chooses that word. I mean, it's not that you can't say that, right? You can't be like, I had a blank sheet of paper and now it is overwritten. Yeah, it's written over, right? The blankness is now covered up with writing, which overwrites it. But I think that the reason that he, again, is Saruman, is using that word. Overwritten also implies, in my mind, a sort of a later step, right? The beginning is the blank page, and then it's overwritten, right? It's improved upon. This is the next stage in its evolution, right? On top of the whiteness is written print, right? Is written script, is written wisdom, whatever it is that is written on, right? It is added to, and it enhances it and augments it, right? The piece of paper might be worthwhile, but yeah. Right. Mike says overwritten suggests overridden. In a sense, yeah. But that's the point, right? You override the mere blankness of the page. The association of whiteness with blankness. It's almost like he's saying, like, your white cloth. Okay, you're probably thinking like white cloth, purity, simplicity, right? I'll see your white cloth and I will raise you a white page. That's also pure. That's also simple. It's also pointless if you never write on it, right? It never, like, if you don't take the next step to overwrite the white page. He's emphasizing like the action that is done to the page, not just the action that's done to the page, the action that's done to the whiteness. The whiteness is overwritten with letters. So, yeah. Then the white light can be broken. The white light can be broken. I am assuming, of course, that he is... Now, there's nothing especially violent or evil about breaking light, right? Saruman would certainly agree with the physicists, and I'm not sure that Tolkien isn't here. The white light can be broken. What happens when you break the white light? Yeah, you get a rainbow, right? This fits very clearly in his pattern, right? And you can see how this is to Saruman the crowning illustration of white being a mere beginning, right? White light, not real interesting, right? And it's just not, right? Rainbows are beautiful. Rainbows are gorgeous. Just as, so it, like how beautifully dyed clothes are much more interesting than white cloth, just as a closely written page containing important knowledge or, you know, a literary work or something is much more valuable, right? It's much greater than, much more beautiful than a plain white page, less pure, less simple, right? So much more so, and much more dramatically so, you take the white light and you break it, and you have the whole rainbow and multiple rainbows, right? I should have known you guys would start quoting Kermit the Frog at me after I started talking about that. Yes. They do, in fact, have nothing to hide. Belongs Bond, absolutely. Yes. So, what you get when you break light is spectacular. It is revelatory. It reveals the beauty that was only concealed within the whiteness. In that sense, it's a different kind of beginning, right? The wonder and the splendor and the complexity of what is shown when you break the light, right? So much more than the white light. right? It really is sort of the culmination of this speech. I think it's but the word broken, it still sounds harsh, right? There's a reason that that sounds violent, right? You don't have to use the word broken. The white light can be broken. What seems to be revealed here is his attitude. It's one thing to say, he could have, I mean, if he had just said something more neutral and wordy, like, isn't a rainbow more beautiful than white light? Then that would have been a little bit more neutral, right? But the white light can be broken. I can break it, and after I've broken it, it is a more beautiful thing. The result is beautiful. But the process is violent, right? Yeah. And I agree. He's showing not only his desire for improvement, but disdain of white. Yes. Much different from Radagast the Simple. Yes, I go back to I was thinking of that as well. Simplicity versus complexity is one of the things that he seems to be thinking towards, right? In contrasting him with old him, right? With many colors to the white, but also I agree by implication to Radagast as well. Yeah. And then Gandalf's favorite speech, in which case it is no longer white. So let's just pause there for a second. So what is Gandalf saying to Saruman? In which case it is no longer white. It's like he's acknowledging what Saruman has said. That speech by Saruman, the whiteness speech by Saruman, is, I think, his best rhetorical achievement of this whole encounter, right? That's a really, really good speech. Gandalf comes back to the simple fact, in which case it's not white anymore. I'm not arguing that a rainbow might not be more interesting than white light, but the point is, it isn't white anymore. And he's clearly trying to bring it back to Saruman and Saruman's job, right? You have a job. Are you doing your job, Saruman? Or are you doing all of this other stuff, right? Are you being the rainbow or are you being the white, right? Because I don't care how beautiful the rainbow is. I don't care how many, colors, might shimmer and change and bewilder the eye. The white is an important job. That's why you're the head of the council, right? Are you doing it? Or really, he's being even more direct than that. You're not doing it, right? If this is how you're going to carry on, right? If this is what you're going to do, you're not the white anymore. You are abdicating the role. You are failing in what you are supposed to be doing. Your job, the rainbow isn't your job. The white is your job. Right. Tora Marthin says, we were all supposed to be the rainbow together. I thought that's why we adapted the whole color-themed job titles, right? Isn't that though I guess gray, brown, and white don't really make an awesome rainbow, even if you add blue in. Right, yeah, Bricktails was just saying the same thing. But still. And then he adds, and he that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. Notice in the context here of their conversation, the thing that I think that Gandalf picks up on, I think what he's doing is emphasize. I said, I think that almost all of that speech, the whiteness speech by Saruman, is a really good speech. It's a very effective speech. It's one of the most persuasive things that Saruman says, I think. But he gives himself away in that last word choice. Broken. Right? Broken. That the use of that word says clearly, I don't care about the means, only the ends. When you break it, look, it's better, right? And it's that word broken. It's that violent, that revealingly violent and sort of callous word choice that Saruman has used, that Gandalf immediately focuses in on. He that breaks a thing to find out what it is has left the path of wisdom. Is he anti-scientific inquiry? No. But he is anti-violence. He is anti-means are more important than the ends. Somebody was earlier on talking about vivisection. Yes, I do think that vivisection is one of the things that is in Tolkien's mind here. Is Tolkien anti-science? No. Would he be anti-vivisection? Yes. Yes. Would he be very concerned about embryonic stem cell research? Yes. I believe Tolkien would be very concerned about embryonic stem cell research. So if there is a beef that Tolkien through Gandalf is making with science here, that's where the beef lies. It's a means and ends question, right? But the word that Gandalf is calling Saruman on is broken, right? Oh, so that's what this is about? So that's how you're going on now? That's what your philosophy is? Break things so that you can, that's what it, so you said white is a beginning, and you've therefore implied through your comparisons, right? Through your illustrations that you should move on from white, right? White is merely a beginning, and what comes next, what is added to it, what it becomes is the maturation, right? Is the consummation of the whiteness. To which Gandalf says two things. One, then it's not white. Then it's doing a different job, and it's not doing its original job of being white. And secondly, the breaking. If that is how this maturation process is going to go, if moving on from the beginning means that kind of action, means willingness to sacrifice means, to follow any means for the sake of the ends, you've left the path of wisdom. You've not added wisdom, right? I mean, again, and he's directly addressing, this is what Saruman is saying, right? When we become wise, we die, dyes become more elaborate, right? As a culture becomes more sophisticated. What is written on the page is much more important than the page, right? It is like important on a totally different level, right? The page is only important for material purposes. What is written on the page has an immaterial significance. And then you've got the breaking of the white light as by magic, transforming it from a simple non-color, right, into all of the hues of the rainbow. And you've not, in doing this, so it seems like you have been very, very wise, right? That you have done something great, that like it's an advance. Again, it's a very persuasive speech by Saruman. And Gandalf says, no, you've not advanced. You've left the path of wisdom. If that's the way that you're going about it, that proves that you have left the path of wisdom. You need not speak to me as to one of the fools that you take for friends, said he. I have not brought you hither to be instructed by you, but to give you a choice. Don't speak to me as to one of the fools you take for friends. Back to the wise and fool, the wisdom and foolishness again, right? Radagast the fool, Saruman the wise, right? Don't take me like a fool. Obviously, you might lecture fools all the time, right? I mean, you hang out in the Shire all the time, so I trust you do lecture fools all the time, right? Don't speak to me as to one of the fools that you take for friends. Notice the insult there too. It's not just that you lecture at fools, Gandalf. You take them for your friends. You deliberately hobnob with those idiots out there, right? You lower yourself. I have not brought you hither to be instructed by you. Mike says, does fools include Elrond, Galadriel? Probably not. Well, yes, though actually I'm sure it probably does. Yeah, I'm sure it does. But I think it's not whom he's picturing at this moment, right? I think he's picturing hobbits, maybe even the Dunedain. But yes, I think that Elrond and Galadriel, as they would not agree, as you say, Emily, would not agree with his policies, he would probably dismiss them as fools. It's true. Sam says, in saying this, is he yielding the previous argument? I think that he's backpedaling, for sure. Right? This is him dropping the argument. I'm not going to debate with you, Gandalf. Right? Don't lecture me. There is a kind of dismissiveness to, I'm not going to engage on this level with you, Gandalf, right? We're not going to debate. Because I'm not a fool, right? And don't try to take me for one. And WKU fan, I agree. I don't think Saruman is used to people retorting back either. Yeah. And Toramarth and I do agree. If you think that his backing out of the argument at this point makes him sound a little bit weak, or his position sound a little bit weak, yeah, not going to disagree with that. Right? Definitely not going to disagree with that. No, I definitely agree. I've not brought you hither to be instructed by you, but to give you a choice. And next week, we will look at the choice that he gives him. So we're going to stop there because it's getting late. But there we have 2 slides tonight. An excellent accomplishment. And next week, the recruitment speech. Right? That's going to be a lot of fun. So thanks everybody for joining me. We're going to do our field trip now. So we're switching over just to twitch.tv/SignumU. So thanks to the folks on Twitter who are joining me tonight. And feel free to join us on Twitch. And we're going to...
Good evening, everybody.
Resume things. Oh, hang on. There we go. Got to redraw the screen. All right. Excellent. Oh, hang on. Don't even have my earbuds in. Gotta fix that. Okay. There we go.
Alrighty.
Okay. Very good.
I think we can actually launch carndûm from here.
Yes, we can, because we got right up to the instance door, so we don't even have to travel. So, are we gonna? Are we gonna fill up? Yeah. How many is this instance? Is this a 6-man?
6-man, and I think you have to be around level 50 for it to work.
Okay.
So yeah, I'll get started and see what we got.
Okay.
Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, we got 6 exactly.
Well,
oh wait, I'm 6. No, I'm 7. Damn it.
You're 7. Oh well.
All right.
What's the
All right, so I need a volunteer to stay behind on this one. Anyone? Bueller? Oh, okay. Sumalith, you on here with us? Give us a sign. Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
Sorry.
That's all right.
My mic was collapsed this whole time. I didn't even realize it. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. So we got Sumalith. All right. Thank you, Beema Boggins, for being a good sport about that. Kiriana, are you here with us? Okay, alright. Alright, we're all set. We can launch the instant now.
Okay, great.
Oh yeah, decorate your house for Halloween. I think they're going to be doing that festival soon.
Cool.
That should be fun. I do like the fall festival that they do. It does make me absurdly happy.
The fall
especially
festival?
This year since we especially this year since we can't do trick or treating.
Right.
I gotta say that the passage we were reading is absolutely one of my favorite passages, and I'm just so sad that cinematically it doesn't translate as well as how you'd imagine it in your head. You do it in a movie or something, and it's ladies and gentlemen, Patti LaBelle.
Okay. All right. So.
Oh, there's our old Newcastle.
All right. So that's the portal that we theoretically just came through. Okay. So hang on a second. The voiceover, which I couldn't hear because it was muffled because my sound settings keep getting messed with. The capital of Angmar and the former stronghold of the Witch King, Angmar's shadow has returned to this city in the form of the false King Mordorith, steward of Angmar. So this proves, well, okay, I won't say proves. It strongly suggests that, we're saying like one theory, if this is all newer construction, one theory is that Carndûm was leveled after the destruction of the Witch King and rebuilt. But that voiceover text certainly suggests that that is not the case, right?
Yeah.
If, it certainly suggests that it's not the case because it speaks of, it is the former stronghold of the Witch King, not like a new stronghold built on the ruins of the old stronghold, and also has returned to the city, not rebuilt the city. So the suggestion is that it's definitely so. That I think that's definitely, which means I'm still not necessarily resolved on what the older stone is then, unless as we were theorizing last time, maybe an actual relics of old Gondorian work, but
the black and white ones.
Yeah, the black and white stone.
Oh, cool. So location does not eliminate the idea that they maybe like put a new frontis on it or a facade.
Right, so. That's possible. I
kind of want to do the Galadriel dream instance again, just so I can see what it looked like when they had Mordorith on the balcony talking to everybody.
Right. Okay, see, look, that's really interesting. Like over here, we have the rusty metal, see? Just right there.
Yeah.
These guys could probably actually kill me because, kind of...
Yeah, these are
kind of a wimp.
Tougher than a 1-hour steak.
Yeah. Narnian, not really designed for combat. So, I'm trying to decide whether I think that these new blades, I guess, right on either side of the ramp here, are new. I think they look a little bit rusty, which is unusual. I mean, most of the new fishhook metal has been much shinier.
Yeah, that oily purple. Same thing with the metal behind it, on top of this wall here.
Right.
Very oxidated.
Yeah, this stuff right back here, very brown. Huh.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a rusted hook there.
Yeah.
Intriguing. Yeah, it's not that oily purple stuff we usually see. You can even see it's right next to it.
Right, exactly. And I'm looking around. Hang on, looking around the wrong direction now. Yes, okay, I'm looking around, like at the towers. So we get all these spikes and stuff. Right, so if you look at those kind of, we see the fishhook spires, right? With the 3 points on either side there. Those look newer than the older, like the kind of the wing bits on the sides of the towers that look kind of like bat wings on the sides of helmets or something.
Yep.
Those, I think, are older, but those other spikes are newer, the ones that we're sort of suspecting of maybe being involved in.
True. We did kind of theorize that maybe the glossy purple the glossy purple green hooks might have been used making a technique that prevented it from rusting.
Right.
And that technique was lost.
Right. Exactly. Oh, okay, so this is the Poison River down below.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, just like when we saw it in what you call it? Tarmoon? Was it?
Right, Tarman Sursa? Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we've got the goblins are more likely the pale folk living in their little yurts down on the shores of the Poison River.
Oof. It's a different kind of bridge, isn't it?
My goodness, look at the level of overhang. This whole castle, well, the front part of it anyway, this next buttress in any case, has this massive overhang above these columns which are supporting it.
Yeah.
That looks completely impossible to support the weight of that much stone. It's almost absurd. Wow. Okay. So, and then looking around behind me, I bet I'm going to see a similar... Yes, I am. Okay, so see, that explains it. That explains it. That explains why we've got the oxidized metal, because this is new. This is new. There's no way that these metal piers have been holding up that weight of stone for more than 1,000 years.
Yeah, no.
That's just, there's no way. So this stuff, and we've also been saying that the bridges are one of the things that that looks like it's been one of the most consistently new pieces of architecture that we've been seeing are the bridges. So I think that this whole set, both this bridge and the landings on both sides essentially are sort of our new construction, newer.
Yeah, look how decrepit the stone is over on this side.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
there's
so
definitely there was another bridge here. You could tell there's another bridge here, and it got completely bent. There's little bits of rebar sticking out.
Yes. Right, over there. Yes, it used to continue. Yes, exactly, exactly. So no, I think this is newer, and that would explain why over here in the older area, so we've got this is the does anyone have an ornate gate key by any chance? Looks like we can't get in.
Huh. I guess I don't have that one.
Might be a short field trip.
Yeah. Is that something where we have to kill all the enemies and then we get the ornate gate key?
Yeah, basically you have to do some of the other areas and come back to do this. I do have an alt that does have the ornate gate key. I can switch out to her.
Could have sworn I did all of these already.
Well, Narnian Mr. I've never completed a quest. Oh, wait, except for the 7 Swords quest. So he has completed a quest. Mr. I've only ever completed one quest. Definitely has not done it. Hang on, though. I'm trying to decide whether or not your excellent observation with the rebar supports or disqualifies my observation. I still can't believe that much weight could be supported just on a metal frame for 1,000 years. I just can't believe that. I don't know if I'm supposed to suspend disbelief on that point or not. But I mean, the breaking off of this, because it does look like it did in the old days, or older days anyway, just continue straight across, supported by some means or other.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, the metal supports look like they're of the same sort as this bridge that we're standing on.
They tried to fix it and it went horribly wrong.
Yeah, maybe. Huh.
Well, poo. Gotta figure out where an ornate key comes from then.
Give me a second. I'm bringing in an alt.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, it would be handy to get. It would be a short field trip if we can only do the outer courtyard
Yeah.
here. Well, let's see what we can see through the ornate gate.
Yeah, okay.
Which means I might need to back up a little bit here. Let's see. Backing up. Backing up. Okay. And hopefully not
Scamper bear, is that your alt?
backing
Yep.
myself off the cliff.
Scamper bear, that's freaking adorable.
She was Scamper, but when I brought her from the PvP server, she had to get a rename.
Yeah.
So
All right.
I'm trying to figure out the rationale. I mean, we must have talked about this. But why the choice for those, like, the Batwing tower tops?
Well, one thing we figured is that it might be in mockery of the swan wings of a Gondor helmet.
Right.
Are
Right.
you guys still locked out?
No.
No, we're good.
I don't think so.
Yep. That must be it. I think I've done this, but someone else opened the door for me. Probably
Okay.
Rachel.
Anyway, right. Okay, I think that must have been what we said, that it's like deliberately in mockery of Gondor. Not the swan wings, but the bat wings.
Or Dol Amroth, maybe?
Right. Right.
They like their wingly dinglies.
Now, the evil Tudor houses. Oh, look, this is an evil Tudor house that looks like it could tip over. I still say that these would have been built more recently.
Yes.
Like them squatting here during the hiatus period between the fall of the Witch King and the return of the False King.
Mm-hmm. Plaster and timber doesn't last forever.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whoop, Cargul.
It's a Cargul?
Coming up from behind to the left.
Yep. Ooh, Elite Master.
Coming up from behind?
Yep.
9 o'clock.
Oh, over there. There he is.
I roasted him. He's dead.
So he was, hanging out in the basement of this house? Was
No,
he
he's coming down this hallway.
He was wandering around here.
Yep.
Okay.
Like you do.
All right. Okay. Look at the door, though. The door again with those are the same patterns that we see on the...
On the gatehouses, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, or the door houses. Yes. See, this whole area looks like this looks like a neighborhood, right? This is where a village of the, and they probably erected this railing too.
Yeah, very similar to the one we saw when we first came into Carndûm.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, and see there you've got an old door house there.
Let's see, we got some... Ooh, lookouts. We have a priest and a bunch of lookouts.
Okay. Yeah, and I bet you that some of these sort of different areas within old Angmar are able to be sort of used as demarcations for different, like, clans or, sort of neighborhoods. Yeah, so I guess it's a neighborhood in here.
Or services, like, this is the smithy area, or this is the soldier area, maybe.
Right. Thank you, Druid's Fire.
Why did you kill?
I like the little bees hive above my head.
Bjornings are OP.
Yeah.
Ooh, spider.
Okay. Yeah, so there are a bunch of these older stone houses, which they clearly have inherited and then built up their timber and plaster houses around them. Probably repurposing some of the stone for their foundations, I would say.
Yep. Looks like most of them, their purpose is just to keep the wrong sort from coming in through the front gates.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. There's the big Muni.
Oh, this requires an iron gate key?
Gotcha.
Jeepers.
Yikes. How vexing is that? I mean, I know, like, getting into carndûm is supposed to be the culmination of having done all the things, in the original release of the game, so...
Yeah.
It just makes sightseeing a little difficult, that's all.
Just a bit.
I'll just bring this character until we're done with carndûm.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't click on the iron grate. Courage, foolish, though me. Oh, he's talking to us. Tarlock.
I like the kind of horned beast thing that they do with the breastplates of those trolls. It's kind of interesting.
Up for being attacked from the back.
Yeah,
That's
yeah, I was being
That's why we
mobbed
can't
from
get
the
the big
back.
bad.
So like multiple waves of dudes from the back. Okay, well now one thing I haven't seen much of yet is much evidence of the new fishhook stuff, like the new actual, like, standing fishhooks, or we saw a couple up on top of towers. Enough. Well, you ended that all right.
Yeah.
Level
And
50
with the
elite
bang.
mob, 120 Bjorning. Somebody's gonna follow her, it ain't gonna be me.
Okay.
Yeah, did good job.
Yeah, sorry, I'm looking. Okay. Yeah, this hanging cage is the first sign I've seen of the new fishhook metal at ground level
Yeah.
anywhere around here. Thank you for opening the door.
Thank you.
No.
Oh, hey, look, I'm getting deeds for going in here. I don't think I've ever been in here before. I don't know that I've ever seen this. I certainly did not finish all of the, like, completionist Angmar, because Angmar is so full of fellowship areas and things, it's really hard to solo it completionist.
Yeah.
It's a very frustrating place as a solo
there's a door.
completionist.
This is a different kind of door. This is the ones we've seen back in
Barad Gularan.
Barad Gularan.
Yes, the concave doors, yes.
Yeah, it's going to put us in some sort of Thunderdome again, isn't it?
I suspect
find
so.
out.
With the prow of the, the whole...
There's bad guys in here, but it looks pretty.
Nope, just a
For Angmar.
creepy tunnel.
We're in the castle of the Witch King.
Twisted fell spirit
All
and a
right.
high priestess.
Okay.
Oops, wrong one. That's the one.
That one shotter with bees.
green torches.
Let's see. Another cross.
The way that the greenness picks up on the trim and everything is really nicely spooky.
It's kind of like it's full of algae or something.
These doors are interesting, though. I mean, like these just like double doors, which look like, I don't know what, like 19th century, formal dining room doors.
With these big romantic vaulted columns here.
Yeah. Weird. And the doors aren't even openable. That's disappointing.
Yeah, it's not quite the maze of that one elven fortress in Red Horden.
Yeah.
Oh, Elendor. Oh my god, I hate that place.
Elendor, yeah.
Okay, the map is fairly substantially large.
At least we got a map this time.
True. Ooh, a chandelier.
Ooh. I'm sure that'll go well for everyone.
Yeah, a chandelier surrounded by... Hey, no skulls. No skulls or bones of any kind involved there.
Oh, it's just little sad pale folk everywhere.
Oh, and you've got the Watcher statues looking down.
Yeah. Oh yeah, look at that.
And appearing
dang,
appearing to bow almost.
They kind of look kind of real, just a bit.
Yeah. Why did you kill him? Whom? Whom are
Don't
we?
ask me questions like that. I'm an adventurer.
Exactly.
Then I gotta think about things.
Does anyone know whom
Got
that?
a title.
Does anyone know whom that orc is accusing us of having killed?
Is that an orc saying that or a pale
I
folk
thought it
saying
was
that?
an orc saying that, but maybe not.
Hmm.
Well, this looks
In
like
that
a
case, it was
pleasant.
him.
This looks like a pleasant little parlor. Okay, it's less pleasant from inside than.
It was one of the pale folk who said, "Who did you kill? Why did you kill him?"
Oh, it was.
Yeah,
It was.
that's what I
Okay.
thought.
Uh huh.
All right. I thought it was an orc.
Yeah, I'm just a slave. Well, you did attack me. Piles of garbage everywhere.
Yeah, I haven't lifted a finger against anybody. I don't know why anyone's upset with me.
Oh, look at the decoration on this fireplace. This is pretty ornate.
It's funny that fireplaces look like detachable.
It almost looks like an organ frontis.
Yeah, it does. You don't usually see wooden fireplace, like wood-trimmed fireplaces like that.
Wood's generally frowned upon when it comes to food.
Fireplaces, yeah, exactly.
Well, not for
These little-
decoration, just for fuel.
And these little leaded glass paned wardrobes. This is quite a fancy room. It's a shame it's covered in garbage.
Yeah. Yeah, these little wardrobes are really cute.
Mm-hmm.
Trying to figure out where they got them from. Those look like birds' heads on the top?
They are.
Yeah.
Bird's heads.
I'm trying, I mean, it's hard for me to imagine that the Witch King had these wardrobes commissioned, for his castle.
Look at all the friezes, the decorative friezes over here.
Wait, where?
On the right behind the fireplace, this sort of greeny stone
Oh, right, yeah.
trim. That's Edwardian trim on the top there. You see the sort of crenellated.
Yeah, the
edges there.
upside down crenellated edges, yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, well, this is
that's Georgian.
yes, all having that like 18th, 19th century English great house kind of, which is not the feeling I expected from Carndûm, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, you kind of expect there's going to be a snug there and a landlord's going to bring you a pint of stout.
Yeah, I mean, and even the chandelier, like I said, no bones, right? We just have a heavy chain, which is a little stark, but still, I could see this.
So weird in context. The chandelier's got no bone.
It's not no bones, not a single victimized skull. I mean, what were they thinking?
It's
Okay.
boneless
No, but it's
chandeliers.
much less evil. I mean, the upholstery is like done by the standard evil upholstery company. This they got at a discount, clearly, from some it's used even, I think. So that was the new management just rolled this out from somewhere else. Like, this will fit in that hallway in carndûm, but the rest of it.
Welcome to Rankin's Furniture Liquidation.
See, here's another light fixture, not working, of course, but
We got our blue torches. They don't really need it.
right. The torches have shifted to blue now. Huh.
Bluey purple. But a blue, purple, and
And then another random
orange. We got all
wardrobe
our
sitting over there.
secondary colors signify evil things.
Okay, right.
Yeah, they were green ones when we first came in.
Yeah, they were.
All we need are some orange torches,
And then they've got-
secondary color wheels complete.
Someone moved a wardrobe into here for some reason.
A lot of tipped over
All
braziers.
right, then the wood paneled doors again. All right. Oh, this place is a mess. But still with
Yeah.
the same heavy wood paneled doors.
Looks like there was a cave in.
Yeah. Well, you know, they can't help that.
Look up.
Oh.
Oh, at the Miraval hanging from the
There are
chandelier?
different kind of bones hanging from there.
But of course, it makes me think of those bat wings that we were looking at.
Oh, they do like their batwing motif.
Also, I would add, not just the Miraval themselves, of which there are still several others up here. The Maravals, their wings themselves look like, when they have their hands over their heads like this, they look like the sides of those towers.
Yeah.
But also, it's very similar to the wings of the Watcher statues,
Yeah. I was just
which also
thinking
have
that
that kind of like half wing thing going on.
Yeah.
You mean like the ones here around the
Yeah.
circumference?
Yeah. So that seems to have been a
Here's
motif not only of the architecture, but even of the at the very least of the art, but even of the creatures themselves.
Yep. Oh, look, we got our orange torches. Look,
Oh wait, where's orange? Oh,
all around us.
The
The
outer
little
ring.
rooms.
oh,
Yep. Here we go. All the secondary colors.
okay, right. Another snug little room. Messed up floor, but similar decoration patterns. They do look
Yeah,
nice from the outside.
With all the fireplaces going, you think this place would be like a sauna.
Yeah.
Why can't I kill more Maryville?
Yeah, they seem to not want to aggro, really. That's
Yeah,
fine.
they're untouchable.
It's okay. Live and let live, you know?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sure that's fine. I'm sure we won't regret that.
No. Okay.
Yep.
Well, it's getting
yep.
it's getting late. I probably shouldn't do the whole entire carndûm in one
Yeah.
night.
Yep,
we
yep.
We can run straight. Is it just leaves? It's like dead ivy, right?
Yep, dead ivy.
Dead ivy. And a bench. Look at that cute little bench.
Aw.
It's got the the sunburst thing.
Sunburst.
Like the what do they call it? Like the Hillman clans.
Well, I wonder if this is something like Hellman used to do back, the ones that stayed in the Tudor houses.
Exactly. Yeah. That's I think. Okay. So I think this suggests to me very strongly, and it goes with the eagle or bird heads, on the top there. I think that's so. I think that the furniture is all new. I mean, okay, like big shock. This furniture is probably not more than 1,000 years old, but I think that this suggests that all right, well, looks like somebody aggroed something. So it, yes, I think that this suggests that the hillmen moved in here, right, and furnished the place during the hiatus period.
Yep.
And that's why we're seeing all of this charming wooden furniture, which is like, which, it makes some sense, that it's sort of...
You gotta have some chutzpah to live in this haunted palace, though.
Yes. Yes. I'm a little bit surprised that they did, but somebody must have done it. Somebody with some fairly elaborate ideas. I mean, this bench is, like the gold inlay. It's kind of a big deal, I mean, it's a fancy piece.
Door with the leaf motif here. Yeah, it goes back to Tolkien's thing where evil can't create things. It makes you wonder, these human are free will sentient people who have created art just because it pleases them.
Yeah, no, I think it was made by humans, and I think it was made by humans, what's more, outside of the time of the Witch King, like during the hiatus.
Yeah. Maybe they were even sort of happy and free and coming up with a good, healthy society and before the Witch King sent his minions back here.
Right. No doubt.
Kind of tragic.
Yeah. Interesting. Now you can almost sort of begin to see, or think you can see, directions in which, like the society was moving, before the return of the whole Angmarim culture, the revival of the Angmarim culture. Okay. Interesting. All right. Well, I should stop because it is late and I don't want to keep everybody too late. But we made a good start here in Carndûm. We can pick up here. Well, I'll try to find the patch of dead ivy just past the marrow vial. We should be able to make it there. All right. Yeah. There didn't seem to be a whole lot of turnoffs, or rather there were lots of turnoffs, but the doors didn't open. So it seemed to be more of a less of a funnel here so far. So finding our place again won't be too hard. It's
definitely hurting us somewhere.
Exactly. So it won't be too hard to find our place again, in other words.
Yep.
So, cool. All right. Awesome. Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. And we will be back again to continue exploring the rest and see what other wonders of gold inlaid, Georgian furniture await us further inside Carndûm. Not what I was expecting to find, but there we are. All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night now.
Good night.
See you next week. Thanks for joining me on this epic exploration of The Lord of the Rings and of Standing Stone's video adaptation of Tolkien's story. If you are having even half the fun I'm having on this journey, I hope you will consider supporting the project by donating at signumuniversity.org/fund.